My brothers and sisters, and my beloved confreres, a hearty welcome to each one of you to the third Sunday of Advent. I'm reminded of an interesting story about an old couple. This couple was celebrating their golden jubilee, and their children and grandchildren decided to make the celebration a grand one. Early in the morning, they went to the church and participated in the celebration of the Holy Eucharist and thanked God for their beloved parents. Returning home, they began their external celebrations. During the time of the lunch, wine was also served. Interestingly, for this woman, who is the jubilarian, drinking wine was not at all a habit. She was drinking it for the first time. As a result, she got boozed up. After a while, she got up from her chair. She went to her husband, who was sitting nearby, held firm on his shoulders, looked into his eyes, and told him, "For the past 50 years, I'm living with you. But I must confess one thing today. I really do not know who you are." The man, who had a mouthful of wine, gulped it down and sat there with a wry smile. The children and the grandchildren were shocked at the statement of the grandma. "I really do not know you. Who are you?" Yes, my brothers and sisters, this fundamental question is the theme of the third Sunday of Advent. Who are you? My own classroom experiences have made me aware that we do not know the other. Sometimes I used to ask my students to look into the eyes of the one who is sitting near and tell who she really is. And most of the time, they ended up saying their names, or their parents' names, or the state from which they hailed. After that, I really do not know who the other is. Psychologists would say human beings are like icebergs. Only 1/6 of our personality is revealed before us. The rest of it is under the water. There is the need for a Titanic to come and hit against it. The story of the film Titanic, for me personally, is not about the ship or about the persons who are in it. It's all about the iceberg. About me, who is hiding my real self under the water. Yes, my brothers and sisters, this is the story of the humanity. You and I need to clarify to ourselves, and above all before God, who are you? Today, in the Gospel, a group of people come before John the Baptist, sent by the Sadducees and the Pharisees, and they ask the question to John the Baptist, "Tell us who you really are. Are you Elijah the prophet? Are you one of the prophets? Or are you the Messiah whom we are awaiting?" And here, John becomes a philosopher. Like an Indian philosopher, he would say, "Neti, neti. I'm not Elijah. I'm not one of the prophets. I'm not the Messiah at all. I'm merely the voice of the one who is crying out in the wilderness, 'Prepare the way of the Lord, the highway for the Lord.'" Resembling the voice of Prophet Isaiah in the Old Testament, John reminds himself and his listeners, "I'm only a voice of the Lord who is yet to come to redeem each one of you. I'm just preparing the way, making straight the path so that we can encounter him worthily." Yes, I am the voice of the Lord. Saint Augustine would say, Jesus Christ is the eternal word. And John the Baptist becomes a temporary voice for him for a while. The voice of the one who is crying out in the wilderness is the voice of redemption. This voice brings us back once again to the Old Testament. The people of Israel, who were under the slavery of the Egyptians, later under the Babylonian slavery, are now brought to a new redemptive lifestyle. And Prophet Isaiah becomes a mediator for them to show the way. Prepare the way of the Lord, make straight his path. This is exactly the vocation of a Christian. The Christian is the person of the other side. Every Christian is called to move towards the other side. The other side is the person of Christ, and all others become the voice of the one who is on the other side. Have you looked at the other side? There's a beautiful life incident mentioned about Irina Slandarova, a Polish woman who is now 97 years old and is now nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize for a great gesture of saving the life of 2,500 children who were in the Warsaw Ghetto in the Polish Nazi concentration camp. When asked how she could do this great adventurous gesture, she told, "It's all because of an inner voice that emerged." She says that her father was an inspiration for her. Her father was a doctor who was serving a lot of patients during the time of the plague. And as it normally happens, he himself died of the plague. But before his death, he called his daughter Irina to himself and told her, "When you see someone drowning in the water, even if you do not know swimming, jump into the water and save his life." Yes, my brothers and sisters, this is the vocation of a Christian. You need to be a person of the other side. St. Paul in his letter to the Thessalonians today says, "Be always grateful and rejoice in the Lord, because the Lord hath prepared the way for you." And this Lord is the one who is calling you today to hold fast to what is good and do always what is right. Christians are people of morality, and the morality that we hold is the principle that is derived from the person of Jesus Christ, who is always righteous. Yes, my brothers and sisters, today is a reminder for us to recognize who we really are. Are you today becoming the voice of the one who is crying out in the wilderness, "Make straight the way of the Lord"? Can we take cue from John the Baptist and stand positively in our own life situations? Look into your own families. Does your wife know you? Do your children know you? Do your parents know you? Have you become an icon of hope for the other who is along with you? Or are you a stranger in your own family? Make straight the way of the Lord. Become a person of the other side. Let us take cue from the readings of the day and become more and more conscious of our vocation to define our own personality and to become people of the other side. Amen.